Good morning, everyone. You have to bear with me because when I normally do this, I've got a kitchen in front of me and a set of knives and a load of fruit and veg, so I must get a bit techie, and I'm not that good at techie. So I'll give you a little overview of what I do. I'm chef director at a company called Reynolds. We're sort of the largest family, independently owned national fruit and veg supplier, and we work with everything from sort of hotel groups, five-star hotels, restaurant chains, restaurant groups, education sector, healthcare. And as chef director, it seems a funny thing to have a chef and a fruit and veg supplier, but we work with our customers to develop menu solutions, and obviously a lot of that is based around fruit and veg and increasing vegetarian dishes. So what we're going to do over the next sort of 15 minutes or so is have a look at how we can encourage more meat-free. We don't really like the word vegetarian because it puts things into a box. So we tend to use the word meat-free a bit more. But we're going to see how we can look at increasing consumption in the UK market, really. So how do we encourage more meat-free dish consumption? Told you I wasn't very good at tech. There you go. Well, I guess that's potentially one way, and might be a bit extremist. This is actually a picture from a wall of a restaurant in Soho called Vegan Hippo, and it really is a sort of ultra far right vegan movement. I think they had a guy hanging up outside of their bacon sandwich near the shop, so probably not quite the right approach. But we're going to have a look at some of the good stuff that's going on in round veg. So vegetarian dishes are growing in popularity in the eating out market. That's a fact. You know, we can see that. We get a lot of data from Peach, Allegra, people like that. So they are on the increase. And flexitarian is a phrase that's sort of come into vogue over the last 12 months or so. People are choosing to eat meat, not as eat less meat, not necessarily because they're vegetarian, not for any ethical reasons. It might be health, it might be sustainability things, and many people are opting out. And you get things in contract caterers like meat-free Mondays and promoting vegetarian dishes more, or meat-free dishes over the meat option. It's now the second most popular choice in the casual dining sector. It makes up 21% of menus, second only to chicken. We sort of picked on the casual dining sector. That's quite a big area for us. That's one of our largest sort of customer groups. And it's actually 21%, okay, but it's quite impressive when you think about the number of burger chains that are opening up and sort of premium burgers and steak restaurants. So that's a pretty good trend. And the good news is carrots are still cheaper than chicken, even after Brexit. So there is room for some margin to be made in this as well. So that's even more good news. There's never really been a better time, I think, for innovation in meat-free food. If you think about now, I mean, pseudo and ancient grains are widely available now. A few years ago, people didn't know what quinoa was, let alone how to pronounce it. And now you find that you've got guys in the UK as a group in Shropshire now starting to grow UK-grown quinoa. And you're seeing it going mainstream. You're seeing it in cereals and such like. So it's pretty, you know, people are more aware, I think, nowadays. 2016 International Year of the Pulse, or Year of Pulses, again, a real focus on that. People looking at alternative protein sources. I was at a presentation last week, and Waitrose are presenting some of the things they've done through this year to really drive sales of the pulses and so on. So it's making people aware, so it's all good stuff still. Things like heritage and heirloom varieties are becoming mainstream again, whereas back in the old days that was all there was. That's why they're called heritage. But you've now got guys, or give an example, you've got the candy stripe and the golden beets at the bottom there in the picture. A year or two ago we were buying all of this stuff as Reynolds out of Runge's Market in Paris because the French were growing it and the UK guys weren't. And we were saying to our growers and our farmers, come on guys, come and start growing this stuff because we're putting this on the truck and bringing it over from France. Why wouldn't you? And the UK growers, being UK growers, anyone here, apologise, but it was a bit like, no, it's a flash in the pan, it will never catch on. This year we've hardly bought anything from France because a lot of our growers now are planting up heritage beets, rainbow carrots, heirloom tomatoes. So a lot of innovation and, you know, a lot of people getting onto this now. Also, you've got things like global restaurant brands growing in the UK where they're not so reliant on meat. So people like Dishoom, Ottolenghi, those sort of guys, where the cultural shift really is the fact that it's not about meat and two veg. it's about 2 veg and meat possibly, you know, so it's actually using the meat as a seasoning. So it's again, that's influenced, and I think if you look back at that, you know, the uprising casual dining sector, that's obviously influenced by that. Okay, so we've had the good news, the not so good news. Vegetarian still only makes up 12% of all dishes sold in the fast food market, which is, I guess, not unsurprising. So it's good news in the casual dining sector where people are sitting down and enjoying a meal, but the more traditional, I guess, fast food market is sort of lagging behind quite a bit. And I guess that's probably driven by the big sort of burger chains and your fish and chip shops and predominantly things like the chicken shops, you know, and I was recently involved with a project called Peas Please with the Food Foundation, and you know, you've got all these chicken shops around schools, and if there's a school opens up, a chicken shop opens up and does chicken and chips for £2, you know, you can't compete with that. More than half of the veg meat is highly processed. This is again research that 17% of kids' vegetables come from pizza and baked beans. So we've really got to focus on the fresh, in my view. I would say that I'm a greengrocer, but most of us still not eating 5 a day, despite all the campaigns. It's more likely to be 2 or 3, and in some instances less than that. That could be driven by the fact that it's not that easy to get hold of. You know, maybe we should make it more accessible, and I think we're going to tackle that in a second. And the other thing is vegetarian or meat-free food is often perceived as a cheap menu alternative and unimaginative. Now, you know, I'm old enough to remember when I first started in kitchens, you know, the vegetarian option was cauliflower cheese. And the actually was bang a bit of cheese on it. The veggies loved that, that'll be fine. And that really was it. I mean, that was the sort of limit of it. And that sort of stuck. And it really, really doesn't need to be. We just need to be more creative. Okay, so who's doing it well? I guess you guys will all be familiar with Pret. And I think we've got some guys here from Pret today. But Veggie Pret was a pop-up in Soho, started in July. It was a bit of an experiment, I believe, and it's proved so popular that they're going to keep it permanently, and I believe the guys are looking at more sites to roll out over next year. But you would walk in there, if it wasn't for the green sign, if you walked straight in there, you would not know it was any different to any other Pret. And you don't miss the meat. That's the thing. You look in there, they're still fantastic salads, fantastic sandwiches. It just happens they haven't got any meat in them. Pod is a really good customer of ours. Again, similar sort of thing. They're very much focused on the health, and again, not exclusively vegetarian, but a lot of their menu is vegetarian, and it's about health and nutrition, but also, more importantly, about really good flavoured food. Leon, another one of those guys out there, sort of again, not exclusively vegetarian, but doing some really good stuff, making it accessible. And this is one of our favourites, Mildred's. Have you guys ever heard of Mildred's? It's the oldest vegetarian restaurant in London. It's 25 years old. It's been there for ages. The ethos behind Mildred's is it's a vegetarian restaurant, but not exclusively for vegetarians. The owner, a lady called Jane, used to work in law, then she opened this up. Wanted people to go there that were vegetarian, that could bring their meat-eating friends and not miss the meat. They're not fine dining, they're not high-end, but they've got a real following. They actually, every lunchtime, every dinner time, they're queuing out the door. And they do sort of grab-and-go salads and sandwiches, but also a really nice sit-down menu as well. If you're ever in London, look them up. They are really fantastic, and they do it so well. Another one is, again, another one of our customers, you know, doing a plug. But Peach Pubs, you know, you wouldn't think traditionally pub groups, vegetarian, not necessarily. But what Peach do, and we're going to come on to it a little bit in a minute, is they don't sort of box off the vegetarian dishes. They just happen to be vegetarian or meat-free dishes that feature on the menu. They're not tucked away in the bottom. They're not, you know, labelled with a big V. They're just good food. And they price it sensibly as well. They price it in accordance with the rest of the main course. Or, you know, so they're not being apologetic about it. And then there's Grain Store. Again, I don't know if you guys have ever been to this place. This is just behind King's Cross. World-renowned chef, a guy called Bruno Loubet. And his ethos, again, not a purely vegetarian restaurant, but the meat is there as a seasoning. It's not the main event. So you might have a menu which is Jerusalem artichoke with braised celery, chicory, lentils with pork belly. You know, and it's almost the secondary or third ingredient there, and it's all about promoting in-season, great quality produce. And again, a good smattering of vegetarian food on there or meat-free food on there, not exclusively, but the veg is the hero. So again, if you get the opportunity to go to the grain store, it's really worth a visit. Okay, so what's the trick to sort of driving more meat-free consumption? You've got to make it accessible. Now, as well as that might look like an amazing dish for our tree-hugging hippie friend in the corner, I'm not sure that most mainstream people are going to get that. You know, actually, it's getting close to lunchtime, so that actually might look quite tasty now. But, you know, it's way out there. You know, that's going to have a really limited appeal, that menu. But if you do this, and again, we go back to Peach, this is literally lifted off of one of their menus. I hope no one's going to be here to accuse me of plagiarism. But so it's roasted cauliflower steak, puy lentils, hazelnuts, raisins and capers. Nice ingredients, familiar stuff on there. I know what cauliflower tastes like. Oh, it's got the word steak in it, so that's caught my imagination as well. And then it's no little apologetic V next to it. There's no labels next to it. If people are not sure if it contains meat, the server knows what's in it, so they can ask the question. But it's accessible. I think that's the real sort of key to it. Don't scare people off. Don't make it too niche. Tell it like it is. This is what a lot of times you'll see, you know, on sort of restaurant menus for the vegetarian option. Chances are it'll be tucked away down the bottom of the menu, a little apologetic V next to it. Vegetarian lasagna. Now, we don't say pan-fried loin of meat, or we don't say oven roasted fillet of fish. We actually tell the customer what it is. It's pan-fried loin of pork. It's roasted fillet of salmon, whatever it might be. But so why would it be any different for vegetables? Why would we not tell people what's in their food? So probably a much better wording is a roasted butternut, spinach and field mushroom lasagna with smoked mozzarella. Using that as an example, I know what's in there. There's some familiar ingredients in there. People like spinach, people like butternut, I like mushrooms. Oh, smoked mozzarella, that might be a bit interesting. So I appreciate this might be a very basic approach to it, and I am taking a very chefy approach to it rather than a sort of lots of stats and figures. But we do a lot of work around this with our sort of customers in development days of actually making vegetarian food accessible. The other thing as well is the don't be an apologist thing. And what do we mean by that? So this is, again, cut and pasted from one of our customers' menus. I'm not going to tell you who it is. No names, no pat drill. So this looks great. It's a handmade truffle and ricotta filled pasta, forest mushroom sauce, pecorino shapes, some great ingredients in there. It's got truffle in there, banging seasoned at the minute. It looks great. Got the little apologetic V in there. It's full, you know, but that's fine. 14, 15, yeah, that's okay. It's actually quite an expensive restaurant. The next cheapest dish on the menu is this one. So, hang on a minute, that's £6 more expensive than my vegetarian dish. Now, I think people's perception is if it's a lot cheaper than other stuff on the menu, I'm not going to get as much. I'm not going to get as big a portion. It won't be as good. You know, the lamb is reassuringly expensive. Now, I appreciate that lamb is an expensive ingredient, but then so are wild mushrooms, so is truffle, so is pecorino. And the value in this is not so much in the cost of the ingredient, it's in the skill of the chef. Now, taking nothing away from the chef, hopefully he's cooked that piece of lamb perfectly, but he's not had to do a huge amount to it, season it, sear it, roast it. Okay, he's creamed some carrot and swede, and they have a red wine jus. It's a very nice menu, don't get me wrong, but he hasn't had to make a pasta dough, roll out a pasta, make a filling, prepare wild mushrooms, which are not easy, and then, you know, form that into nice even-shaped tortellini or ravioli, whatever they might be. So it's not doing itself any favours, in my view. This is tucked away down the bottom of the menu. This is in the bottom-hand left corner of the menu, and it's the only vegetarian or meat-free dish they've got. So it's almost sort of, oh, right, we better do something for the veggies, which is, you know, it's a shame. Okay, more tricks. Explore some more unusual fruit and veg. There is a whole world out there of interesting fruit and veg available now, and a lot easily and a lot more readily available. So, excuse the selfie. You guys ever seen one of these before? Know what this is? No, this is on my Twitter profile, so it's not an armadillo or a hedgehog. This is a jackfruit. This is the largest fruit in the world. They come in at around between up to 35, 40 kilos. That was a baby we had in last week. That's 14 kilos. And that's it inside. It's basically one of the most versatile fruits going. It's huge. You can use the seeds inside. They toast them and use them like chestnuts. You take the fruit, and a ripe jackfruit gives you really great flavoured, sweet fruit. And the fibres around the outside, they are used to make a thing called pulled pork. We're back at the Vegan Hippo restaurant again. This is their jackfruit burger. And if you've never tried it, you use the fibres, you pull them, slowly cook them, add barbecue sauce, and you cannot tell the difference between that and pulled pork. And there it is. It's a shame they can't spell avocado, but there we go. Okay. The other thing for me is stop being preachy about it. Vegetarian, it's not all about health. People automatically assume that if you're a vegetarian, it automatically follows that you want to eat healthily. It's not. They're not inextricably linked. People that want, a healthy diet, people that are worried about what they eat, people that are conscious, they'll know what to buy. They'll find out, or they'll ask. I think sometimes this is really important for me. We send people the other way. Vegetarian equals no flavour. It equals boring. So, it can be indulgent. If vegetarians like to eat indulgent food too. So it's not all about health. Okay, so I'm getting the 3-minute sign. So in summary, meat-free dishes can be tasty. It just takes a bit more skill, and it takes great quality ingredients. It's really important you've got the best quality ingredients you can buy. With a piece of meat, again, it's all about quality as well, but vegetables, you're a lot more exposed. Meat-free dishes can have a wider appeal than just, our tree-hugging hippie friend earlier. It is not just about that. This is, about making them accessible to everybody, and making them interesting and making them familiar. Meat-free dishes don't have to be worthy. As I said earlier, people that are worried about health, concerned about what they're consuming, they'll know or they'll find out. Other people just want to eat great food. Great meat-free dishes deserve their place on any menu. We shouldn't be apologist about it. We shouldn't be tucking them down the bottom with a little V next to them. We don't do it for meat. We don't do it for fish. And they should be priced accordingly. Don't be scared to make a margin, because ultimately what you do, and it's the skill of the chef, is the value. It's not necessarily the cost of the ingredient. They also present a great opportunity to improve the nation's health, as I said earlier, about the preachy stuff, without the sermons. And also, obviously, for manufacturers and restaurants, they do present a great margin opportunity. So, and you remember the old advert. So, from my point of view, the meat-free dishes of the future is orange, and it's yellow, and it's blue, and it's green, and it's white, and it's red, and it's candy stripe. That's it for me. I think I'm just about in time. So, thank you.